So, Mark, tell me about this incredible project of yours. It sounds amazing, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, so The Glamour and the Squalor is my first film. It's a film that actually is celebrating its 5-year anniversary. So it's getting a re-release. We are putting the soundtrack or the score out on vinyl for the first time. So it's fun to kind of revisit it, which I hadn't really done much. I used to have the film, memorized literally every single part, and then this morning I had to kind of go through it again and be like, oh, let me refresh my memory on the film. But it's about Marq Collins, who's a radio DJ that was very instrumental in the early '90s, breaking all kinds of music. He was the first to press play on like Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and the whole grunge movement that came out of Seattle at the time, and carried that into just this great career in the music industry before kind of having it all crash down, a lot of it self-inflicted. So it's his story, it's his rise and fall, and then attempt to kind of reinvent himself in the new era of the music industry and media.
And what would you say was the biggest challenge about making it initially?
It was my first film, so just all the challenges that come with making, a film and your first film. So the financing and just, not knowing what you don't know. So, learning as you go with a lot of things. But I think it was a great first film to have made because I just learned so much, learning all those things about the financing and about collaboration, choosing the people that you want to work with. And certainly there's people that I worked with on this film that I've carried with, projects since then. But just, filmmaking is challenging, and you're telling a story, it's storytelling, but you're doing it, you have to shoot everything. And I was looking back through it too, thinking, man, we shot so much. Most of this film we shot, which, yeah, you're like, of course. But, in documentary, a lot of times, especially if it happened in the past, you're relying on a lot of archival type footage, but we shot most of the movie. So, yeah, but I think just the process of like, coming up with an idea and then actually making it, doing it for the first time when you're kind of learning as you go, that was definitely the most challenging.
And you said this is a re-release. What do you think the reaction now is going to be like versus the reaction when it was first released?
I don't know if the reaction is much different. I think it's aged well. I think it still feels like it could have just been released now. Hopefully it continues to reach a larger audience. I guess that would be my hope. But I think it's a film that should have a long life and will continue to, because I think the story is one that is universal, from both a music standpoint to Marco navigating the music industry as, first a closeted gay man and then coming out. And there's just a lot, I think, for that audience can kind of grab onto with the film. So yeah, I don't know if the reaction will be any different. The world is so much different now, than it was 5 years ago, but I think that the film still really holds up in most ways.
Yes. And what's one thing you hope this generation watching now likes about it the most or relates to the most?
Um, I just think, Marco as a character, he came to he struggled with acceptance of himself. He grew up in a house where his dad was a police officer that wanted kind of a man's man football playing son, and Marco was more artsy and didn't live up to what his dad wanted, and that made for a really tough relationship that finally many decades later they made amends and understood each other a lot more, which I'm glad that Marco was able to have that experience. But I think maybe just for people that feel like that they can't be their true selves, and I think that's been the biggest change in the world that I've seen over the past 10 years. Just like people, I think, for the most part, feel liberated to be themselves. And so I think that's just still a great message. It's also universal and will be ongoing forever. Like, be yourself, be your true self, don't hold back.
Yeah, and it's such a relevant message, especially now with everything going on. It's just, I commend you for putting it out now again, because so many people can relate to it on one level or another. So I think I'm very proud of you and I'm very glad that you're doing this.
Oh, thanks.
And what else are you working on these days? You got anything else exciting going on?
Yeah, I've got a movie coming out, hopefully this summer. It'll be premiering at a film festival in June called Clay Dream, which is about Will Vinton, who's known as like the father of claymation. He created the California Raisins and many other kind of iconic characters throughout his career. And so it's his also kind of a rise and fall, how he built this company, this animation company, and then it ended up kind of getting taken from him by Phil Knight from Nike. So that'll be coming out, and then have a couple other projects that are kind of in advanced development that we're just about to now start pitching, that things are going to hopefully be opening up again a little bit soon. And with this movie, with The Glamour and the Squalor being re-released, and then this movie Clay Dream coming out this summer, hoping to be able to pitch a couple future projects at that same time.
And one thing I like to ask the people I interview is, tell me a fun fact about yourself.
Oh boy. I'm so bad at talking about myself. All right. Well, this isn't like, I wouldn't call this a fun fact, but it's just something that came to mind, that last year we started, my wife and 10-year-old son started our own creative, like boutique creative company. So we're doing the documentary films as we move forward will be under that umbrella. We call it the Macaw, MCCAW, which is my wife's maiden name and my son's middle name. And my son Jude, who's 10, he just put out a book. He had this idea for an ABC book when he was 3 years old about his favorite bands. He wanted there to be a book about his favorite bands, an ABC book, and where they were from. And that book didn't exist at the time. So he was like, well, let's make it. So it took almost 7 years, but we put it out towards the end of last year. It's called Bands by Jude. So you can go to bandsbyjude.com for that. So that's been a lot of fun. Just kind of like we were always as a family working on these creative projects, but we decided like, let's actually make it official and let's like run all of our projects through our own little family business. So that's been a lot of fun. We put out 2 books last year. We'll have at least this one, this re-release, and then a new movie coming out later this year. And we want to kind of get into some music as well too. So it's been fun.
Nice. And congratulations to your son. Was he named after the song?
Kind of. I mean, we came up with his name before my wife was even pregnant. We somehow came up with Jude Macaw, again, Macaw being my wife's maiden name. And we were watching Across the Universe, which is a Beatles movie. And that's kind of where we really like that name. So yeah, I mean, it's credited, I guess, to the Beatles and to the song, I guess.
And just so you know, tell Jude I am buying that book for my goddaughter who's going to be born next month, and I'm going to be reading it to her. So,
well, I'll make sure he signs it too.
Oh, great! It's on the website, correct?
Yeah, so bandsbyjude.com, and yeah, we just it's been kind of funny. We've I've been kind of like a shipping clerk, shipping his books out for him. So.
I love it. But I promise you, as soon as I get off here, I'm going to order one just for Aria. So.
Oh, well, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Yes. And one more question before I let you go is, since we're also a TV site, what are you watching on TV these days?
God, it's such a good question. My wife is the big TV watcher, and she actually got mad at me last night. She's like, well, when are you never want to watch these shows? And part of it, like, so you can see these papers on the floor. There's one film, one of the new shows, I guess, that I'm pitching, it's probably going to be like, we're going to pitch it as like a 4-episode series. It's a true crime, like murder mystery set in Alaska. It's a crazy story, but because of that, because I'm kind of like working on one, I don't want to watch shows like that at night, because then I feel like I'm working. So she has all these like shows that she wants to watch. There's a new one called, oh my God, totally drawing a blank on it. But she was texting me about it yesterday, or telling me about it yesterday. And, but I was like, no, I don't want to start that. I want to start that at night. So I'm a bad person to ask about TV. Like the first thing that comes to mind is Queen's Gambit. And I was like, that's old news now. So
Nice.
what should I be watching?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I take that back. So as a family, we're watching Falcon and Winter Soldier. We also started watching the new Mighty Ducks, which we had low expectations for, but we're having a lot of fun with that. And then, yeah, so I guess, and yeah, those would be, and then animation domination on Sunday nights is still fun with,
Can't go wrong with that. You cannot go wrong with that.
Great.
Nice. And what can we find you on social media?
You can't. I know it's so stupid to not really be on there, but and it's hard to, like, in this industry, and like I've done a couple Kickstarter campaigns and they've been successful, but doing those without social media is hard. Yeah, I mean, I've got a Twitter, but I'm not active on there. So yeah, I know it's bad.
Okay. Well, I will make sure you get a copy of the video when I post it. And thank you for taking the time today. I truly appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Sammy. Nice to meet you.
Thanks. Nice to meet you too. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.